Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about the pattern that is going to be expected for the next week or two. So basically a long-range outlook. I will not be focusing about the storm system, the large system that is occurring across the country. And it will move into the northeast come Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For that, stay tuned to your National Weather Service. Look at the radar and look at these weather models, especially the HER model for yourself. It's the best model you can look at. I only make these videos once a day. I really can't do any more because of school and other activities. So that's, look at the National Weather Service is the best thing you could look at. When it comes to that. But let's talk about the long-range pattern in today's video, which looks, let me tell you, pretty snowy. Some large storms could be expected, and maybe some more snow for the northeast and some more sustained cold in the longer range. So please consider subscribing to this channel if you are new, and obviously I'm not forcing you right away. Just check out this channel, check out all my other videos, and see if it's worthy for a subscription. If you are a consistent viewer and this is another one of your videos that you are amazingly on, thank you so much, and consider liking the videos. Again, that really helps out a lot. So again, this storm very weak it seems, but a lot of impacts. Light sustained snow for a while, and then it could re-intensify across Saturday, Friday, and then move into the northeast, right? Some pretty moderate to heavy rain, especially across the mid-Atlantic and parts of the coastal areas expected. Then we get into a warmer phase. So this is not all, cold. We get into a warmer phase. Does not necessarily mean that there will be no snow. It seems the models are starting to show a second system possibly by Wednesday of next week, looking pretty interesting. GFS as of now looks pretty weak, right? But we'll have to see how that all plays out, as the European has a little bit more strength to that system than what the GFS shows, and so does the Canadian. That's extremely far out. We don't even know what's happening to be exact with this system that's occurring right now, the details. So that one is just speculation at this point. But we've been noticing, again, the consistency which has been telling us quite a big story. Notice, however, once this system, whether or not it's big in the Midwest, the models are showing a potential nor'easter here. Now, this one would be a coastal one, potentially. Notice that this one would be very strong, 983 millibars, Saturday, February 1st. And just look at this. This would be very significant, very heavy snow, very strong winds across the northeast, a classic nor'easter, right? Then after that, we see more cold air coming in, more sustained cold, some of the coldest air of the season. So that could be very, potentially record-breaking in the sense that it could be a polar vortex. If you look at some of the teleconnections, they're also indicating that you could see that we have a snow system that drags down all the way into the southern U.S., Kentucky, Tennessee. There's been some indications, again, showing that a stronger lift and dendritic growth across the south, potentially leading to some more, heavier snow amounts. And we'll see. A snowstorm or two is definitely possible across the early February time for these locations. Notice this moves up into the northeast, drops quite a bit of snow, and then we could be seeing a more cold pattern. You can see more sustained cold. The 2-meter temperatures are showing quite a bit of below average temperatures towards the end, especially across the eastern U.S. But up until then, it seems like if it's still going to be warm, but again, that's perfect conditions for a big storm to spawn. Maybe not for the upper plains or the Midwest, but for the northeast, that's still pretty good. Even for the plains, you could still see a giant storm even when it's above average in January. That's just where that's the time of where it doesn't really matter if it's above or below average, as long as there's moisture. It could literally be snowing. For example, the system that's occurring right now is occurring in predominantly above average conditions. You can see it's warm. If one were to look at this, would be bummed out, would be saying, oh my god, this is a bummy winter. Well, right now it's snowing, and it's snowing in even locations pretty far south across Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas, seeing some sleet and rain and freezing rain. So that is that, and that is basically showing you that, again, it doesn't have to be below average to see snow, especially across January. Let's look at the Canadian model. Let's see what it shows. Again, above average conditions as of now. a little bit warmth continues and then it cools off again. Here's that system. You can see it possibly re-intensifies, and across the northeast drops some snow and rain. Then we look into this portion. You can see that Canadian has a stronger system right here for the Midwest. Still not anything record breaking, but still Missouri, parts of northern Missouri could get a nice decent snow out of this, southern Iowa, Kansas. And then it also tries developing this across the northeast, but really not to the same extent as what the GFS does. You can see right there. It's right there, but again, not to the same extent as what the GFS does. And again, look at that. Cold temperatures return back to the south, like with the falling iguanas. I don't know if you've heard that news story, but there literally was. It was so chilly across the Florida Panhandle and southeastern Georgia and Alabama that essentially the iguanas were falling out of the trees due to the chill. I don't know the science behind that, but it was a pretty strange event, to say the very least. And that was because of the cold air that came down there and kind of almost got disconnected from the cold air up to the north and just kind of situated itself across Florida and Georgia. So it was some pretty gnarly below average temperatures. Can't believe I just used the word gnarly. But let's look at the European model, and let's just quickly look at the 500 height anomaly. I want to show you just where the storm tracks may occur, not necessarily the surface and precip yet. I'll show you that in just a minute. Again, we have that snowstorm occurring this weekend. We're moving across the northeast. Then we see that system across the Midwest, Thursday, January 30th. And then you can see possibly maybe seeing that nor'easter, which the European kind of skips over across these frames because it only goes, what is that, only an increment, pretty large increment of hours. 24 hours of difference, so that's pretty significant. That could be from South Carolina to like the southern parts of Canada. And by the way, St. John's across Newfoundland, they just got an absolute massive snow system, right? And that's what they usually, we've been kind of missing out here in the Northeast. But you definitely not want a system where it's 40, 50 plus inches. At that point, it just gets dangerous, and it's just not good. 10 inch, 20 inch, yeah, that's okay, I guess, tolerable. 20 inch, getting pushing it, and then 40, 50 inches is just a bit too much, even for a snow lover like me. That would just be hazardous and very destructive, damaging, crippling. So I feel with those folks over there, definitely was a massive snow system. And could we see that across the U.S.? To that extent, probably not. But again, snowstorms in the spring, April, March, they grow pretty darn big, and they could be moisture fueled to the point where they could be very, very efficient snowmakers. But as of now, again, it looks rather chilly. It looks as if we'll be looking at some chillier temperatures and some a little bit of moisture. So what does that mean? Of course, what that means. That means some increased potential for some heavier snows. This is the GEFS ensembles. You can see warm air, maybe a little bit of chill towards the end, and they're not really showing that too pronounced. Let's look at the EPS, the European ensemble members. You can see that they're initially showing warmth again, but some of that cooler air sneaking in, especially towards the southern U.S. So what does that mean? That is basically really good news for the southern U.S., as that is basically where you could see a little bit of snow with this cold air. If this cold air was across the north, that wouldn't really be good news, as it's already cold enough in the north to see snow. Even if it's like this, a pattern where it's below average here, above average here, it's still going to be cold enough for snow across the northern U.S. It's just south that would not be if it was above average, but it's below, they have an increased chance. And I would say across the northeast as well. As if I were to look at some of the previous model runs, let's look at the 12Z and let's look at the total snowfall accumulations across the northeast. You'd notice that they're pretty significant as well. Now, the GFS has been doing a pretty crummy job with the snowfall totals in general, so I wouldn't take this too significantly. But what I would do is kind of, if you're living in the Midwest and the Plains, I would think that the GFS is underestimating many amounts. Across the Northeast, they may be doing actually a good job and not overhyping it, which may seem ridiculous, as some of the amounts are really high, up to 30, 40 inches. But that's what the GFS has been showing for several models now. Let's go back through the models and notice that this is a model prior showing some pretty heavy snow. This is another model showing some pretty heavy snow. Another model showing some pretty heavy snow. You can see So let's go back to the 60 Wednesday. You could see heavy snow as well. So it's been pretty consistent that that area will get more active and stormy and snowy. And even though we haven't locked in a stormy pattern, it seems like more large storms will be on their way and more sustained cold air. So maybe the storms will have more of a snow potential. And I say more of a snow potential because the past several storms have been just notorious for their ice. I mean, the ice threat has been just ridiculously pronounced and profound for the past several storms, to a point where it's historic in a sense where the records could be broken for the amount of hours of freezing rain and hours of sleet across portions of the plains in the Midwest. There's usually a measure of the amount of freezing rain a city gets and sleet in hours, as it's usually not too significant. I think it's 12 or 13 for Chicago on average, and we've definitely already surpassed that. So we'll have to see. It may break a record or a average, and possibly even break a record with the amount of ice we've been seeing, similar to last year actually. One were to remember, we had a lot of ice, and it seems like this year is no different. So yeah, guys, I'll show you now the European model snowfall. And as you could see, that the European model snowfall not only puts out more snow, more realistic snow amounts for the plains with this system and across the Northeast. Maybe has backed away slightly on amounts, still some generous amounts. And then if you look in the next 10 days, they puts quite a significantly greater amount of snow across the plains, the Midwest, and into the Northeast, even into the parts of the South across the Appalachian Mountains. So that is definitely something to keep an eye on for, as I think that the snow, this map will be filling up with more and more snow as we go. So winter is nowhere near done. It's, the worst month is still ahead of us. The rest of January, the rest of February, and most of March, I'm thinking is still going to be pretty snowy. And I think it looks, as of right now, based on a long range predictions, that April will be filled with big storms, like kind of what we had last year. Large systems that are supercharged, bringing tons of snow into parts of the plains, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, while bringing very warm conditions to the southern U.S. So we'll have to see about that. But that's what, as of now, what it seems to be unfolding. So thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing to this channel, and catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.